Good evening, good evening. This is RenaeThaDiva, and welcome to Let's Talk About It, a local weekly podcast. I am going to have today a special guest by the name of Mr. Cyrus Webb. This is going to be a pre recorded message because his schedule was busy, so I definitely appreciate him taking the time to even sit down with me and chat. So we'll talk to him in just a little bit, and I'll give you a little more information about him. Let's go ahead and get into our weekly announcements. So let's talk about it is sponsored or brought to you by Legacy Entertainment Studios. And we are always looking for sponsors. If you're interested in a sponsorship, you can email us at legacyentstudios@gmail.com and we'll make sure we get back to you about our sponsorship packages. Okay. So let's talk about it. Let's start with our sports and entertainment news. So we've got a lot going on here in Indiana, and we also have a lot going on in our nation. So we'll talk about sports, entertainment. We'll also talk about some local and some national going on. Okay, so make sure you're liking, you are sharing, and you are following. Let's talk about it podcast. You are following Renee the Diva and also Legacy Entertainment Studios on all social media platforms. Okay, so let's talk about it. So, Vice President Kamala Harris has kicked off her presidential campaign. She actually started officially here in Indianapolis last week when she was here for one of the Greek sorority conventions. She did keep her promise and she went to Massachusetts on one of her next stops, despite protesters. There were also several Kennedy supporters there that are now showing interest in possibly backing Miss Kamala Harris for the presidential nomination. So, in interesting news, White Women for Kamala Harris, and that is the title of their group, broke Zoom this past week. And they raised millions of dollars for our presidential hopeful. So, ladies, now you are invited to the barbecue, just FYI. Love the sisterhood. Former President Mr. Donald Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance were also campaigning in Minnesota and held their rally indoors because of safety concerns, of course, with the attempted assassination on his life a few weeks ago. New controversy is being sparked, however, surrounding the VP candidate Vance because he has been said to be not who he seems to be. There have been reports that the VP candidate has changed his name legally 3 different times, and he didn't grow up and rule poor Kentucky as he's saying that he did. So more to come on that, I'm sure. 2 of Indiana's cities have been named a part of 100 best places to live in the 2023 report. So congrats out to Carmel, who got the number 3 spot, and to Fishers, who got the number 8 spot. And this is based on livability. What that means is that the cities were chosen based off the measure of the city's economy, host housing, cost of living, transportation, environment, safety, education, and health. So again, shout out to those 2 cities here in Indiana. Now, I will round out with the news with something that is also in national news and trending. We are definitely sending our condolences to the family of Miss Sonia Massey. And there's been a nationwide outrage sparked because the police unalived her, stating that he felt threatened when she was turning off a pot of boiling water, which he directed her to turn off. So I'm sure there'll be much more to come on this case. I definitely pray for justice, pray for her family. She has a son that has survived her. So again, condolences from us here at Let's Talk About It podcast. Commercial break. What we call a commercial break. So make sure again that you are liking, following, and subscribing to our YouTube channel for Renee the Diva, RenaeThaDiva, and Legacy Entertainment Studios. We will rebroadcast and repost all of our broadcast shows there. I'm just so excited. I'm trying to contain myself, ready to get to our guest, Mr. Cyrus Webb. So I'll just go through the rest of this very quickly, okay? So NFL teams are starting their training camps this week. The Colts camp here in Westfield at our Grand Park has free admission for those that are 17 and under. Adults are just $5, and there's $5 for additional parking. The Olympic Games have held their opening ceremonies. They are taking place there in Paris. We have several members from Indiana that are on the USA team, and we're very excited about that. The team uniforms, however, were designed by Mr. Ralph Lauren, of course. I can say that I'm definitely going to go get one of the Blazers if they make them for sale. I love them. They're just a very classy look. The NLB baseball teams are in the postseason, and their playoffs start officially as of October the 1st as well. The 2024 induction to the Hall of Fame happens here on August the 3rd. Not here. It will actually be in Canton. Former Colts player Dwight Freeney is one of those that are on the list to be inducted. So congratulations to Mr. Dwight Freeney. Lastly, entertainment and things to do here in Indiana. So the movie The Duel is set to premiere at the Hilbert Theater here in Indiana. Right? The movie itself was based actually in California and Mexico. And it's about two friends that end up dueling as a way to solve their relationship issues, as they both are interested in the same woman. It is gaining notoriety, however, because of the fact that the majority of the movie was shot right here in Indianapolis, in Indiana, in 2020, which is, of course, during the height of the pandemic. They mentioned the use of previous owners, Herb and Bryn Simon, who are famous for their Simon Malls or Simon Property Group. They use their old mansion here in Indiana as well for a lot of the movie. The Indiana State Fair does start also this week on August the 2nd, and they have a ton of free concerts lined up once you pay for the admission to the stage, with notoriety such as Gladys Knight, Miss Yolanda Adams, and of course my faves will be here on the free stage. So make sure you do participate in the state fair if you can. Also, they are introducing this year a $5 menu, which is they are trying to combat some of the costs with the economy. Economy is changing for everyone. So they want to make sure they still have participation with people coming to the fair. So that's going to wrap up our sports and entertainment news. Before I bring our guest on, again, I appreciate him being so patient. He's been awesome for that. Let me go ahead and read you a little bit about his bio. His name is Cyrus Webb. He is a radio and on-air personality. He is editor-in-chief of Conversations Magazine and Mississippi Success Magazine, author, social media influencer, top 100 Amazon.com reviewer. And since 2003, he has built the Conversations brand into a internationally recognized force that not just shares the stories of others, but is making a difference in the way that people see themselves and what is possible. Over 2 decades, Webb has been growing his brand, celebrating 21 years as the host of Conversations Live radio show, interviewing over 12,000 guests, and 18 years as leader of Conversations Magazine. Conversations Magazine is also a top bestseller on Amazon with 13 straight issues that reached top 100 status on the online retailer platform. That's big for Amazon. Additionally, Webb has also been explaining his relationship with Amazon, producing content for the platform, and including being an on-air personality for Amazon Live. His website, of course, is www.cyruswebbshow.live. Make sure you're liking, following, and subscribing there on Amazon for him as well, please. Webb is also an author and the inspirational books Power Your Life with a Positive and Words I Choose to Live By, as well as a poetry book he penned titled My Journey in Haiku, and the business book Minding Your Business, both of which were #1 releases on Amazon as well. again, for more information, and I'll post this here just shortly, make sure you are going to the website, which is www.cyruswebb with two B's, webb.com. So let's go ahead and bring Mr. Cyrus Webb on, shall we? Let's shall. Well, good afternoon, Mr. Webb. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here and taking time out of your busy schedule for sure. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
So, why don't you please, if you would, I read your bio. I don't know if you got to hear that when you were backstage, but go ahead and introduce yourself to my guest and the panelists.
Well, first, let me congratulate you on the great work that you're doing with your broadcast. I'm so glad again to be on with you. As you mentioned, I'm celebrating this year 21 years as the host of Conversations Live radio show that's based here in my home state of Mississippi. I've also been a podcaster those 17 of those years. I'm still on the radio here 5 days a week here in Mississippi, but also host a podcast as well. And really, honestly, I tell people I'm just a country boy from Mississippi who wanted to be able to reach people. I thought that books would be the way I do it. I've been able to do that with books, but definitely the radio platform has given me a whole nother arena to be able to reach people. So I'm just very blessed to be able to not only to share my story to inspire others, but also to share the stories of others to let other people be inspired by them too.
Thank you so much for that. We definitely appreciate you. All right. So, how did you get into media or social media or broadcasting, all of the above?
Yeah, totally by a God-given accident. And that I mean that sincerely. Radio was never in my plans. TV was never in my plans. I'm also a suicide attempt survivor. So I was actually sharing my story at an event back in 2003 here in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi. And a gentleman walked up to me after I had spoken at this event. And he said to me, he said, I really enjoyed your presentation. Have you ever thought about doing radio? And honestly, Renee, I had never thought about doing radio. But kind of find out the gentleman was actually Charles Evers, the brother of Medgar Evers. He has a radio station here in Mississippi. And he says, I think you would be good at it. And that literally is how it all started. So I started in July 2003, and now here we are 21 years later.
Well, awesome. Awesome. I'm glad that you survived. Just truly shows that there's a purpose for your life, for sure. So, you mentioned that you're there in Mississippi. Where does your show broadcast?
Yeah, so the radio show is broadcast here in Mississippi. We reach right at 250,000 households here in Mississippi, but we also are online too. So you can listen anywhere in the world through the radio station at WYAD. That's the station I'm on, 94.1 FM. You can go to their website at WYADonline.com. But we also are part of the iHeartRadio family. So you can also catch us on iHeartRadio and Amazon Music as well. That has definitely been a blessing. Renee, when I first started, there was no podcasting in 2003. So if you missed my show, you just missed it. Now, thankfully, thanks to podcasting, if you missed the episodes, like I said, I'm on weekdays here. You can catch it anytime through the replay on the podcast. So it definitely has been a blessing.
Well, thank you again for sharing your gift with us. Now, what advice, Cyrus, would you have for someone that is looking to get into media? Say, for instance, at the high school level?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think three things, Renee, is what I would say. One, make sure you're doing it for the right reason. I think you would agree. We meet people who a lot of times want to do something because of the accolades and the attention they think comes along with it. And that may work for a while, but that's not going to sustain you. You have to genuinely love it. And I think that's the big thing. And I think to find something you're truly curious about. For me, as I mentioned, a suicide attempt survivor, I'm genuinely interested in people's personal stories, no matter how many celebrities I interview. I'm always trying to think of who are they outside of all of that? So whatever that interest may be, whether it's sports or gaming or whatever it is, make sure it's something you truly are passionate about. Two, make sure you're willing to put in the work for the long game. When I started in 2003, as I mentioned, there was no podcasting, there was no internet like it is today, right? But I stuck with it. And a lot of people have come and gone in that industry, along my way, as true for you too, Renee. So I think you have to be willing to be passionate about it and stick to it. And the third thing I would say is protect your dream. Don't allow naysayers to stop you. Don't let people get in your ear and tell you what you can't do. I would be lying to you if I told you people in 2003 said I would still be here 21 years later. There are people who told me I didn't have any broadcasting experience. You'll never make it in this. Who do you think you are? No one's going to listen. I heard all of that, and so I didn't listen to it because
Awesome. Thank you.
I respect their opinion, but it's just that their opinion, and I've outlived in my career a lot of them, and so I think you have to truly protect your vision, protect your dream, and don't let other people take that from you.
For sure, for sure. And great advice for sure. Now, can you share, if you don't mind, a little bit more about your testimony?
Yeah.
Have you gone through therapy in dealing with your suicide attempt? Have you decided to be more of an advocate, trying to implement therapy practices for those who are considering suicide? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I appreciate that question. I don't get asked that a lot, and it's an important part. So I had therapy in the very beginning. So we're talking at the time I was 20 years old. So that was 29 years ago. I'm a lot older than I look. so
Right.
I had therapy at the time. However, because of the platform I have now, I'm always talking to doctors, to therapists, inviting them to come on the show, to share tips. I'm very aware. My situation was different. My suicide attempt had nothing to do with abuse or anything. It was all about not seeing my own self-value and worth. So my situation was different. I was told growing up all these great things about myself. I didn't personally believe them. And so I did not think I was worthy of success, which is different than a lot of reason why people choose that path, right? So I do share my story, but I also like to bring in the experts to talk about the different reasons, because I tell people a lot of times you can't look at someone and say this person is going through this or that, right? I share my story to inspire others, but I also bring in the professionals to let them know, hey, it's okay to talk to somebody. It's so you can be a person of faith and still get therapy, and I think that's an important thing for people to know, and that's how I try to use my platform.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, you mentioned that a lot of people kind of try to hinder you in the beginning, saying that, you don't have the education or the background to be in the position that you're in now. What would you say to those people 29 years ago?
I feel bad for them, and I'll tell you why. I used to think people hate it just to hate. But Renee, you know what I've learned though? A lot of people hate based on their own personal limitations and circumstances. It's hard for you to think someone can do something that you've never done or they haven't seen done. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times, Mississippi is not known for media personalities outside of the three big ones: Oprah, Tavis Smiley, and Robin Roberts. But I mean, I can understand now looking back that if someone walked up to you and say, "I'm going to be the next Tavis Smiley," you'd probably look at them and think, "What makes you think you're going to be able to do that?" So I used to think it was hating. Now I think it was really trying to put their own limitations on someone else. So I do feel sorry for them, because a lot of times when we don't see something, it's hard for us to envision it for ourselves or others, right? So what
Right.
I have now, that's why I tell people my path is unique. I'm not saying everybody without a college education, without broadcast experience, can have the kind of career that I have. But I do know that if you don't try, I do know that if you don't put in the work, you'll never know. So that, I have a sense of pity for them. I do, though, try to that's why I always tell people, realize that your path is your path. If your parents don't think you can do it, my parents didn't understand what I was wanting to do. They never discouraged me, but they didn't know what to tell me because they'd never seen it done, right? I'm the first author in my family, the first published artist in my family, the first media personality in so they never knew what that looked like, but now they do, you know. And I think that's the thing. We have to keep going in whatever our field is until people do know it's possible.
For sure, for sure. And thank you again for sharing that, because that is very on point. A lot of times our family, without understanding,
Yeah.
can be, a little bit of an obstacle or roadblock. So I'm glad that you have overcome that for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about the magazines and the books.
Yeah. I'm so proud of the magazine, and honestly, just like I never planned on radio, Renee, I never planned on the magazine. either. But what happened was, as I said, the radio show started in 2003. We started doing very well, and it was basically the second year in. That's when I found out the show was heard on the internet. I had publishers in New York and California reaching out saying, "Hey, we have this New York Times bestselling author coming through. We'd love to have them stop by your show." And I'm like, "Really?" So it kind of grew. But what would happen, Renee, is I would be out at events because I would be invited to go to stuff, and someone would say, "Hey, that interview you had with such and such, can I read that somewhere?" And I would be like, "No, you can't." And then I started thinking, "Wait a minute, why can't they? I can. That's something I can do." And that's how it started in 2006. We started with I can tell you this, the very first issue. I still remember it, still have it. Back in 2006, Brandon Massey, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a horror author. At that time, was one of the few Black horror authors that was really making a name for himself, published by Kensington. He was on the cover of our very first issue. And that was very special for me, Renee, because I also have a television show here in Mississippi as well. So he stopped by the radio show on his book tour. He then taped the segment with me for my TV show on our ABC affiliate. And then he was on the cover of our very first issue of the magazine. So I'm very proud of it. We just celebrated, as I mentioned, 18 years. We've had everyone from Stedman Graham to Viola Davis was on the issue last year. We just now we have getting ready to come out next week our Books You Need to Read issue, which has Cedric the Entertainer on the cover. I interviewed him for it. So it's not just celebrities, but of course the celebrities are part of the draw. Because I do a lot of celebrity interviews, but we do interview up-and-coming authors and actors, recording artists as well. So it's been great watching the growth of it.
I don't know if you do, and I'm almost certain that you do. I have some family members in Mississippi that are in probably like the deep South, but do you have like an expo there that you participate in?
That's a great question. And you know what? I haven't. But I will if someone wants me to. I haven't done it. I'm one of these, believe it or not, I'm an introvert, Renee. I'm probably one of the most extroverted introverts out there. Like, I have a very public job, but believe me, if I could do what I do and just never leave my house, I would do that.
I understand that concept, trust me.
But I'm so passionate about what I do. So I have not done expos. Now I do sometimes, events will invite me out, to do different things, but I'm definitely interested. If someone has something coming up, let me know about it. Would love to be a part of it.
Well, see, there you go. You heard it here first. Well, let's talk about it. There you go. Invite Mr. Cyrus Webb out.
There you go.
All right. So you have author, you have a radio personality. You have some big interviews coming up, so we'll talk about that in just a second. But let's talk about you being an Amazon influencer, and how did that come about?
Another accident. My life is a divine accident. I'm telling you. I mean, none of this. I really just wanted to write my books and draw pictures. That's really was my big dream growing up. But so the Amazon influencer, I've been an Amazon reviewer since 2010. So a long time at this point, right? So it all started because I'm one of those people that, I'm one of these crazy people, Renee, you've heard of these, who when you get the coupons in the fast food place on the back that says, hey, if you do this survey, you get a free two-piece. That's me. I'm going to do the survey.
That's it. There you go.
So when I would buy books and music on Amazon, I just started writing reviews. I thought everybody did it. So I'm writing reviews of music and books and, I bought this, this table. And next thing you know, I get an email from Amazon inviting me to be part of their influencer program. I didn't even know they had an influencer program. They're like, hey, we like your review history. We like your pictures. Because I'm not one of these people. This is why I say I'm half, there's something going on there. I can't just go to a place and enjoy the place. I got to take a picture of this. I got to write my experience. Then I'm going to interview someone and say, what did you think about the place? So they liked the videos and pictures. So they invited me to be part of their influencer program. This was in 2014. And Renee, that literally changed my life. Because when I started with the influencer program, that put me in contact with clothing brands who wanted to dress me for my events, from brands that wanted to furnish rooms in my house, And then in 2020, when the world was shutting down because of the pandemic, Amazon amped it up again by starting their Amazon Live broadcast on Amazon. And who did they ask to be one of the on-air personalities? Me. So while the world was shutting down, I was in my home telling you why you should buy this mic and why you need this desk and why you need this speaker. You know? So, I mean, it has been truly life-changing. I mean, I this month alone, I worked with over 200 brands for a Prime Day. Got me on TV doing interviews and that kind of thing. I'm going to be doing that in August, doing some back to school things with Amazon. So yeah, it's definitely been life changing. But it's one of those things again that goes to being passionate. I'm genuinely passionate about sharing information, and because of that, it's opened up these doors for me that I couldn't have imagined for myself.
I am posting as we speak your link there to your lives. So I definitely hope that, the viewership does participate in your lives and even helps increase that even more for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, you mentioned that you like to draw. Do you illustrate all of the books that you have written? Have you illustrated in each of those books, or do you hire someone to do that for you?
That's a great question. So the children's books, I've illustrated those myself, which is a lot of fun. And I also get hired to illustrate for other people. I do commission pieces. Sometimes people ask me to do, family photos and that kind of thing. I also do landscapes. And in fact, I'm going to give you an exclusive here, Renee. I'm actually bringing an art show to Amazon in September, where you can actually watch me paint and draw live on Amazon. And that's going to be one part of the programming I'm going to be doing with Amazon. And of course, all the products, the canvases, all of those will be available there. I'll be doing arts and crafts there on Amazon, but that's kicking off in September.
I am ready for it. I am here for it as well. I always love beautiful art pieces, and I'm sure they will be extravagant and eclectic and artsy and all of the acronyms that we can use to explain it, because I just love your personality.
Thank you.
And I thank you for being on the show. I thank you for giving me that exclusive. You were just an amazing talent. And now, before we go, you have some very interesting interviews coming up, but I know you mentioned it on your personal social page that you are excited about. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great things happening right now. And again, I'm so blessed, Renee. I tell people, I think things happen for me the way they did so I would know it was God and not me. Because there's
I understand
no
that
way,
totally.
yeah, there's no way that I could personally do the things. Like this month, I'm helping to promote Kevin Hart's children's book. I mean, how would that have happened other than God, right? So Kevin Hart has a children's book series, for those that don't know, featuring a character called Marcus. So his first book in the children's book series was Marcus Makes a Movie. The second book is Marcus Makes It Big. And in the book, Kevin has different celebrities. He changes the name, but Kevin Hart makes an appearance in the second book. Basically trying to get kids to say, it's not enough to be famous. You need to be impactful. And so I'm helping to promote that through Amazon. As I mentioned, Cedric Entertainer, it's been great working with him since last year. He's released his first novel called Flipping Boxcars. I was brought in to help to promote that. The paperback edition is getting ready to come out in September. And again, as I mentioned, he's going to be on the cover of the issue of our magazine, our Books You Need to Read issue, coming out in actually next week. So that's going to be really exciting. And another cool thing to tell you about that I've been very excited about is I've been able to interview a lot of recording artists lately that are really doing some amazing things. We recently had Damien Escobar, the renowned violinist, on the program, truly doing amazing. He just released his fifth studio album, Gemini. So it was great being able to catch up with him. We recently had Erica Campbell on, of course, talking about her new album as well. Smokey Norfolk stopped by the show to talk about his new project. So it's been great, again, to be able to have this smorgasbord of guests that, yeah, they have the name recognition, but they also have such powerful stories. So I'm excited about being able to share those in the upcoming issue of the magazine. And I will also tell your audience something that we haven't released publicly. Also in September, we have our music issue of the magazine coming out with Jay Brown on the cover. I did an interview with him. He's getting a lot of well-deserved attention right now. And we have that on the cover of our music issue coming up in September.
Well, thank you for again sharing. That is amazing and very powerful, and again very impactful. I am glad that you are bringing a platform where people understand that these entertainers are actually people,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
that is a lot.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Renee. If I could just say one thing too, and again, I'm naming people that people know, but we don't just do that. And I should really stress that because even in that issue of the magazine that's out right now, which is our 25 Women Changing the World, we have features with Dolly Parton in there and Tabitha Brown. But on the cover, we have Omega Keys and Kathy Taylor, who are friends of mine from Atlanta, Georgia, who are up and coming filmmakers and directors. So we do interview rising. So I don't want people to think they can't be featured because they're not a big name. We do feature those, but of course, in the business, Renee, as you know, that we're in, the big names brings people in, but then we're able to share other stories too, and so we do share those rising stars as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. And that is definitely part of being in media. We have to reach the audience for sure, but we also have to recognize those that are up and coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I thank you, Cyrus, for taking your time to speak with me today. I definitely wish you the best. I definitely plan to support, and I hope that everyone that comes on your platform actually brings a little more light, a little more joy.
Well, thank you again, Renee, for the great work that you're doing. I'm really glad that I could be a part of your platform, and I want to extend publicly an invitation to you. Anything I can do to assist you, definitely feel free to reach out. I'm here for you. Would definitely be glad to help.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, so much. And shout out to Kenneth Brown, who introduced us to each
Oh,
other as well.
definitely.
Well, thank you again. I'll be talking to you soon.
All right. Thanks again.
You're very welcome. You have a good night.
You too.
So, thank you for hanging in there with us today. We are Let's Talk About It. And we have had on our show Mr. Cyrus Webb, who is just a phenom. He is an author, he's an influencer, he's a radio talk show host. He also has magazines and he has books. Go follow him if you have not done so already. I did list his website. He does have a live show on Amazon as well, where he brings products to light. He will be doing some live painting and artistry, as he mentioned. So make sure you are taking your time to pay attention to that and be tuned in, okay? So this is Renee the Diva. This has been Let's Talk About It. Again, this show was pre-recorded for the sake of my special guest, Mr. Cyrus Webb. So by the time you see this, it will be Tuesday at 7:30. And we thank you for watching. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and following Renee the Diva, RenaeThaDiva, and also Legacy Entertainment Studios. You can watch this replay live on, the replay on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Generally, our shows are live. So we make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 7:30. Thank you again. Be blessed. Bye-bye now.